8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Liam Hendricks, and you're watching Crosstown Crosstalk on the Barroom Network.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Every summer in Chicago, the sunshine spotlights the city's spectacular skyline. Its luxurious lakeshore, marvelous monuments, and the over 200 neighborhoods in the city. And it also brings to light two of the greatest sports franchises in the world. On the north side, it's the Cubs. On the south side, it's the White Sox. This is Crosstown Crosstalk.
Hello and welcome to another very exciting episode of Crosstown Crosstalk presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinnie Parise, and as you can tell by looking out the window, it is time for spring training. Yes, that's right. All this snow, garbage. They have no use for it. Absolutely done with it. Christmas is over. Don't care about snow. It is time for baseball. Of course, the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Cubs have both reported to Arizona, where they are getting ready for Cactus League baseball in spring training. Foster, great to see you. Thank you for having you. Awesome to have you live as always. I am super thrilled about baseball being back. I've been tweeting. I've been getting back into the swing of things with Southside Showdown and Windy City with, all the Chicago White Sox and Chicago Cubs stuff. And now Crosstown Crosstalk is back to actually talking about things that are actually having to do with baseball. No more off-season stuff. I don't want to hear about the White Sox not doing anything. I don't want to hear about the Cubs signing a bunch of has-beens. I am thinking about actual baseball now, and there's not anybody I'd rather be doing it with on this show today than one of the very first people I've ever interviewed with on the internet. I went on his show, Shawn and Maya in the Morning, as part of Sports Zone Chicago. Of course, I'm talking about Shawn Sierra. Shawn, how are you?
Vinny, what's up, buddy? How we doing?
Very, very good. How about yourself?
Man, I am wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Is it hard to look out the window and be like, yes, spring training?
Oh, is that a trick question? Hell no, it's not hard. Oh my God, I'm happy as a pig in slop. There's a lot of expectations for us on the south side. North side, I think they're doing a lot of good things. I hate to admit it, but they're doing a lot of really good things. And man, I'm telling you, the fact that there's no snow out here, it's been raining more than anything. Hey, I'll take it. I got 35, 40 degrees. It was 50 the last couple of days in February in Chicago. Shoot, I'll take it any day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Absolutely. And as I look outside my window right now and see an absolute blizzard, I can't help but, just only care about baseball right now. And we're seeing stuff all over the internet right now with our White Sox. Obviously, you are a Chicago White Sox guy, first and foremost. One of the first people we ever talked about when I came on Shawn and Maya in the Morning for the first time all those years ago was Yoan Moncada. He was, in the early stages of what we were hoping to be a rather promising career for him. So 2019 rolls by. He receives a couple MVP votes. He comes in 21st place for the American League Most Valuable Player. Not that impressive, but still, it's a great first full year in a White Sox uniform. 2020 rolls around. He's playing through COVID, this and that. 2021, people will always underrate Yoan Moncada's 2021 season. He was a 4-WAR player. Was he a super duper star like we were expecting with the number 1 overall prospect? No, but a 4-WAR player, pretty good. 2002, he was injured to start. Now he's saying he rushed back from that injury last year. Are we more mad at him or more mad at the White Sox? What do you make of Yoan Moncada and expectations for him in the 2023 season?
Yo-Yo's my guy. He's my favorite guy on the team. And I've been very critical of him on my show. But that's because I think this guy is one of the most talented players, not on the White Sox, but in Major League Baseball, right? There are 3 guys on this White Sox team, actually 4 guys who really should be, if they played to their potential, would be in consideration for the MVP every single freaking year. T.A., Louis Robert, for those who are brain dead, Eloy, and Yo-Yo, okay? Those guys should literally be stealing votes from each other okay, because they're all in MVP talk conversation. I think Yo-Yo and Lubab are probably the most talented and physically gifted of that four, and they're in the top of baseball. And and as much as I love Yo-Yo, this is a big year for him. Okay, he's got to decide who he wants to be. The one thing that I have an issue with him, and you can, I have a guy who's really close with him, hangs out with him all the time. All right, and I told him, I said, look, I was like, my thing is, I don't see him with the desire to be the best baseball player in the world. All right, I'm like, because there's certain things that you'll see. All right, yeah, there's a difference between training to get in shape for the season and train to say, hey, listen, I'm going to show everyone I'm the best in baseball. And I need him to get to that point. And it's not about talk. It's not about excitement and all that other stuff. You'll see. He'll go deep in at bats. Right? He'll refuse to strike out. He'll lay down a bunt if necessary. He'll use his skills that he has, because you ain't going to be fast forever. All right? When you're the best, there's a way you train. There's a mentality. I hope he can get there. I hope, or at least at least by the end of the season, we say, wow, I think next year Yo-Yo has a real good shot of being MVP. So that's what I hope. There's so much with Yohan that I really get frustrated about. But again, that's because of his massive potential. Huge year for him. And if he decides, in my opinion, if he decides to be an average hitter batting for average and go gap to gap, I think that personally, I think that's the best for him. Don't worry about the home runs. They'll come. You'll walk into a few. You're just that strong. But he's got to make a decision, man. He's got to make a decision. Do I want to be the best baseball player in the league, or am I happy that I got my contract, an early contract? I'm loaded. I'm paid, and I can chill now. Because me personally, man, now's not the time to chill. You worked your ass off coming from Cuba, defecting, getting all that. Dude, how crazy was that? And now you want to chill when you can be one of the greatest players in baseball today? Yeah, it's. I still hold him to a higher standard than other people, him and Lubab, because I believe they are the most talented guys on the team.
I agree with you. He did say today, someone asked him, do you have something to prove this year? Unlike Yohan Moncada, who's been kind of on the quiet side for all these years in terms of how he talks and whatnot, he said, honestly, yes. But let's wait to see once the games start and how things go. But honestly, yes.
You're damn right he does. I'm glad. I'm glad he said it. I'm glad he's got it out there. So it's on film. It's on tape. It's in print because he's damn right. He does. And believe me, no one's going to be more critical of him, but no one's going to be happier for this son of a gun if he comes out and he starts spraying the ball all over the God-blessed park, taking a few out over the fence. And that's what I need. That's what we need as Sox fans. If Yo-Yo hits, my goodness, this team is different. And I told you, my favorite, there are two people that I love watch running the bases in Major League Baseball. One's Mike Trout, and the other one's Yohan Moncada. First to third, second to home, those two guys are it. I want to see him. I want to see him have fun. I want to see him be extremely successful. And I want to see him get taken to the next level where a lot of people are talking about him, and not about his video, which I liked actually, a lot of eye candy in there, but because of holy cow, look at Yohan Moncada. It took him X amount of years to get to this point, but man, he's here now.
He sure is. And another person that we need to see bounce back just as much as Yohan Moncada, if not more, because we've seen him be better longer, Lucas Giolito. He was an outstanding pitcher in 2019, 2020, and 2021. He started 2021 off a little rough, but he bounced back and he came in 11th for Cy Young that year as well. Last year, not so good. He changed his mechanics a little bit. He bulked up. That actually ended up being something that hurt him in the long run. Now he's thinned down a little bit. Some videos are on Twitter today of him throwing. He looks a little bit thinner than he was last year, a lot less body mass, it looks like. Where are you at on Lucas Giolito?
Lucas is a head case, man. It's bothersome for me. Ever since they traded James McCann, he's never been the same. All right. And he seems like it bothers me because he doesn't have the makeup of the moxie, of the attitude of an ace. All right. When things don't go his way, he pouts. You can see it on the field. His body language is everything. That's everything. All right. When he doesn't get a call, he'll stare down an ump, but more not in a way that older pitchers or old school pitchers would, but in a way like he's mad at him. Like, I don't like you, or like he's hurt. And it bothers me because watching Lucas, he's got some of the nastiest stuff in this rotation. Okay, in baseball when he's on, but got to get him on. And I think his mentals is where he needs to work on. All right, he's really got to focus on if a pitch doesn't go his way, don't worry about it. You're gonna get a few calls. Pound the strike zone. I think he's got a big axe to grind with baseball as well, because he's got a lot to prove. People are looking at him. Sox fans are looking at him. I'm not one who believes in him, and I know a lot of other Sox fans don't believe in him. And he's got a lot to prove, and not just to us, but to himself, because there was a situation, when he was with McCann, oh my God, he was damn near untouchable. Got a couple of Cy Young votes. All right. He's got to get back to that, but it's got to be here with him. And I think it's here with most guys, with him, with Yo-Yo, with Lubov. It's there. And he's got to develop, and hopefully Pedro Grifol can get him there. And if he can, holy sheesh, him and Dylan Cease, not even Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, man, that's a nice little 1-2-3. Not to mention the big bastard, as he calls himself, Lance Lynn. That's a nice 1-2-3-4 little combo right there. So I think Giolito's I hope he's done some soul searching. I hope he's really focused mentally. And this goes to show you how important the mental part of sports is. It's not always the physical part. And the physical, to borrow a phrase from Yogi Berra, it's 90% mental. The other half is physical, So he's got to work on that mental part. And hopefully he did.
Yeah, and he went on MLB Network a couple weeks ago, and he sounded like he was ready to go. He said all the things that you want to hear him say. I do believe that when he's on, he has the best changeup in Major League Baseball. There's not a changeup in the league that can touch it. Obviously, working the fastball and the breaking junk to go along with it is what made him so effective. And someone we saw be equally as effective, you touched on it, Dylan Cease. He was magnificent last year, and he kind of didn't necessarily get the accolades that I believe he deserved. He wasn't an all-star. He wasn't voted to the first team All-MLB last year. He did come in second for the American League Cy Young. That, I think, was well-deserved. Obviously, it was hard to argue against Verlander for winning it in the comeback year, especially in the MLB. We know they love themselves some Verlander, so he won it over Cease, but Cease is going to be right back in it, we all think. Do you think Dylan Cease can do it again?
Can he? Yeah. But again, it's for me, it's the mental part. Being a former player and a former coach, current coach, actually, I still coach football. It's all about the mental. It's the mentality you have. Does he have the hangover? All right. Does he say, "Wow, I got to second place in the Cy Young voting last year," and does he slip? All right. Does the fact that that a lot of his good games are on tape now, so people, this is Major League Baseball. They're gonna critique everything. They're gonna know what your tendencies are in an 0-2 pitch or a 1-2 pitch or, a 2-2 pitch with runners on second and third. You know what I mean? They're going to have all that data, and they're going to be waiting for it. How ready are you going to be? How fired up? How locked in are you going to be? If he can stay locked in, my goodness, and have another year, because first year's a flash in the pan. 2 years, now you're starting to build a habit. 3 years, oh shit, now you're pretty damn good. Just like remember when Tim Anderson won the batting title his first time. Like, okay, that was great, Tim. I'll do it again. Next year, he didn't win a batting title. He came in second. Like, oh, okay, Timmy. And then the next year, he didn't win it again. But guess what? He was in top 5. So you're like, okay, now you're starting to see a pattern. Now Dylan Cease needs to build on what he did last year, okay, and develop a pattern. Develop something consistent for us to say, okay, he might not win the Cy Young. We know damn well every 5th day, this we got a great shot to win with this kind of bump.
100%. And do you believe Tim Anderson, last year he still hit over 300, but I don't know where you stand on batting average. I think it's one of many stats you use to evaluate a guy. I don't look at a guy and go, oh, you hit over 300, you're great. Or I don't look at a guy who hits 240 and go, you stink. I think there are lots of things that go into it. But if you're Tim Anderson consistently putting together batting totals like that, you're clearly seeing a really, really good hitter. Last year, you only played in 79 games, though. There are some people kind of pulling back their Tim Anderson love. Where are you on that?
Since he only played, half the games, it's par for the course, over 300. That's what he's been doing. That's very consistent. All right, stay consistent with me. All right, like you talked about, if a guy hits 240, okay, but also if it's 240, there's other things you got to look at. All right, what are you hitting and when are you hitting them? All right, because if this guy's a big bomber, or this guy key hits, gets key doubles, key homers, okay, key hits with runners in scoring position, dude, give me that dude all day long. All right, I don't care about the average. Tim Anderson, he gets on base. He's the stir that drinks that he's the straw that stirs the drink. I get him on base, have him steal. Okay, my love for Tim Anderson has not waned. All right, so I think he's as long as he plays a full season and can continue to put up a 300 average, get on base. I think he's going to do fine. He's going to set the table for a lot of these guys, and I think a lot of these guys have a lot to prove. And I think Tim Anderson, the thing that he needs to improve on is the stuff that we've been saying for the last couple of seasons: the routine ground ball. The routine ground. Don't ask him to make anything spectacular because then his athleticism takes over and he does phenomenal in the field. Give him the routine ground ball. I don't need any errors. I don't need any airmailed throws to first. Get that down, and you'll be considered a perennial. You'll be a perennial all-star because if you keep hitting over 300 and your fielding percentage goes up, man, people are going to notice. People are going to notice. So I'm not down on Tim at all. I still want him to focus. All right, I told you it's all about the mental for me with the White Sox, and you know what? Baseball is so mental because of the fact it's 162 games. All right, and they started last night or yesterday with pitchers and catchers. The 20th, when is that? What's that? 4 days, right? 4 days the position players are scheduled to report. So I'm already there, but nonetheless. So basically from March 20th until the end of the season, you're at baseball. It's a grind. So how mentally strong Tim, Yo-Yo, Lubab, Eloy, Kopech, Giolito sees how mentally strong they are. It's going to tell you exactly how far this White Sox team is going to go.
Absolutely. And so I don't know where you stand on advanced stats and all that kind of stuff, but it does sound to me you'd rather have a guy you can be 300, but if you have 3 singles out of every 10 at bats, or you could have a guy who has 2 doubles out of every 10 at bats, one guy is giving you a better chance to score runs, but he gets 1 less hit every 10 at bats. One guy's batting 200, one guy's batting 300. Who would you rather have? I'm taking the guy who consistently hits doubles and home runs more than the guys that just keep pumping out singles. Jose Abreu's batting average last year was outstanding, but the whole team as a whole couldn't find a way to hit the ball out of the ballpark anymore, and we saw that their offense was terrible as a result. So are you kind of in that same boat with me?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not an advanced stats guy. I'm an old school guy, and I live in that. I have too much other stuff that I don't get to look at and study the advanced stats. But I like looking at the guys and giving them the eye test. All right, what are you hitting and when are you hitting them? All right, like you talked about, if your batting average is lower, but you come through, you 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. All right, give me the batting average then, because your average could be 240, 260. But if in the end of the game, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, your batting average is 280, 290, 300, well, that's a whole different story. You follow me? So I need guys to show up when it's necessary. All right, not just stats are great if you want to use them, but they can be manipulated any way you want. All right, you can have 100 home runs a year, but if it's all when you're getting blown out or you're blowing a team out or there's nobody on base, how effective were you? All right, you weren't very effective at all. So. Yeah, give me a guy who's consistent and a guy when they come up that people the defense has to say, oh, be very careful because this guy is a clutch hitter.
That makes sense. Joe Mandel in the chat says Jake Berger DH second base rotation. Romy Gonzalez is supposed to be the guy at second base. Are you a Berger playing second base kind of guy?
No,
I'm sure his lineup or bat in the lineup.
No, don't put him in second. There's too much lateral movement for a guy his size who's coming off of 2 Achilles. I don't think he's quick enough. All right, you got to go to your left, you got to go to your right. If you said third base, okay, fine. But and then let's yo-yo spot. But no, not at second. I don't think second base. There's just too much movement that needs to go on for Jake at second base.
From what you've seen with this White Sox team, can you talk about what you think Liam Hendriks means to the team in terms of his pitching? Of course, we all know he's one of the best closers going in the game right now, but just the positive vibes that guy brings to the organization.
He's intense, man. He's intense. And we don't have anyone else like that on the team. Yo-Yo's not that way. Lubab's not that way. Eloy's just kind of goofy like a big kid. TA's kind of intense, I guess. But there's really nobody else that I see who has that fire, that emotion, that passion. And, his energy that Liam has. Man, whoever decided to have his intro music and the lights start flashing, or you turn the lights down and they go flashing, well, that's great because that's him. You know what I mean? That's him. He comes in energy, and you swear every time he closes out a game, it was Game 7 of the World Series. That's the type of energy that you have to bring in. And it's tough for 162 games, and I'm not saying it's easy, but God bless it. You get paid a lot of money. And that's the mental part of the game that I've been talking about is, I think he is so inspiring to his teammates because he is so fired up. He is passionate. He is all about winning. And he'll do whatever he has to. Okay. If he's got to go 4 outs, no problem. Right. Or he's got to face the heart of the order. No problem. He does it. He loves it. And that's what his teammates need to take from that. Embrace the tough situations. Because there's nothing tougher than being a reliever. Being the closer. You know what I mean? There's nothing. You got 3 outs. And why does it always seem with us? It's always a 3, 4, and 5 hitter that you got to face. All right. It could be 7, 8, and 9. All right. 6, 7, 8, and 9. It's 3, 4, and 5. All right. And more often than not, he comes through. He delivers and, gives us a few heart our heart skips a beat a couple of times, palpations, but man, he gets it done, like I said, more often than not. And I think the team needs to look at that and say, hey, this dude is really gives it everything he has every time he's out. I think we should be able to do the same.
We've talked about production. We've talked about leadership. We've talked about consistency. Very few people in the history of the organization embodied that more than Jose Abreu. Now you got Andrew Vaughn, who was a 3rd overall pick coming out of Cal. He was the best power hitter in the country. I still think Adley Rutschman was the best pure hitter in the country, and that's why he was the number 1 pick to Baltimore at the time. But, Andrew Vaughn is outstanding power hitter in his own right, led the White Sox in home runs last year, moves over to first base now. He's finally, after all these years, playing his natural position. What do you think?
Excited for him. The only thing that I'm concerned about is how much pressure he puts on himself because he's taken over Jose Abreu's spot. He'll probably bat right where Jose did, which was 3 for the longest time in his career. For the majority of his career, Jose was 3. That's probably where he's going to be. So there's a lot of shoes to fill. But the thing that he's got to understand is he's not Jose Abreu. All right, he doesn't have to be Jose Abreu. He doesn't have to be a different Jose Abreu 2.0. He needs to be Andrew Vaughn 1.0. All right, he needs to be himself. Continue to do what he's done, to continue to do what got him to the show. And if he does that, we're not going to see much of a drop off with that. I think his power numbers are great. They speak for themselves. They're outstanding. And he's a guy, as we go on further and further, when you know your role, and I talk about this all the time, especially from being a coach, when you know your role and they ask you to do that and that only, you're a lot more comfortable. Okay, there's not a lot of things that can fluster you. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but him having his role, you're a first baseman. You're going to be there 4.5 to 5 days, 5 maybe 6 days out of the week. You're going to be at first base. Okay, it gives a sense of ease. So now he can just focus on hitting. Now even when he's hitting, he doesn't have to worry about am I going to get my hit at bats today? No. It's a level of comfort. And I'm excited to see what he can do as a full-time first baseman. It doesn't mean I'm not going to miss Jose Abreu because I am, all right? But the old saying, Father Time is undefeated. And not even saying that Jose was on the downside of his career because, last year he had a bad year. But it's just time and tide wait for no man. And you got guys who are pushing him, and Vaughn pushed him. And the organization said, hey, let's give this guy a shot. Jose gave us damn near 10 years, the nine solid seasons. It's time for a change. We don't really know how old he was when he first got there. He could have been 35. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Andrew Vaughn, man. It's this young blood who's really got a chance to, who's going to really have a chance to put his own personal stamp on first base.
Absolutely. And in the offseason, the White Sox.
A much bigger first base this year.
Yes, much bigger first base this year. He's going to be able to have a little more wiggle room where he puts his foot. Obviously, the White Sox have been taking a lot of heat for what has gone on with them this offseason. Their one offseason pitching acquisition is dealing with fire off the field. The outfielder that they signed, Andrew Benintendi, Benny Butt Cheeks, Benny Biceps, whatever you want to call him, he's been a great player in his major league career. He's made big-time catches in big-time games. Okay, he's had a game-winning saving catch, with the Boston Red Sox. He did it with the Yankees last year. Obviously, they didn't reach the ultimate goal of beating the Houston Astros, but he's had some really good major league careers. Not much of a power guy in the last couple of years. He only had 5 home runs last year, but the rest of his offensive numbers are very, very good. I think there will be a welcomed addition to the White Sox lineup. What are you expecting from Mr. Andrew Benintendi?
How fast he can get adjusted to Sox Park or U.S. Cellular Field? That's still what they're calling it now.
U.S. Comiscular Field.
Oh, U.S. Comiscular Field. Okay. As soon as he gets comfortable with there, and you know what, he could be a power hitter. But me personally, I think we have enough guys to drive the ball out of the ballpark. All right, give me a gap to gap guy. All right, and you do that, put another quarter to merry-go-round and watch these fast guys run. Okay. You know, I told you, I just talked about Yo-Yo, how much I love seeing him run. I don't want to see Eloy run, so he got to go to the gap so Eloy can trot. But Lou Bob, man, I love to see Lou Bob run those bases. Tim Anderson, I love to see TA run those bases. All right, figure out what kind of guy you're going to be, okay, and stick to it. And you know, he brings a level of professionalism. All right, playing for those two teams really have a different moxie about them. They have a different aura about them. They're the epitome of the major leagues. For me, sometimes it's from this organization doesn't seem like a major league organization at times, and it trickles down to the players. Okay, you know, when you go to New York, you got to shave your any facial hair. It's a business over there, all right? And they don't put up with bullshit in New York, and they not just the ownership, but the fans. Boston, the same thing. He's going to bring a level of professionalism here. It doesn't mean he can't have fun, but it means you got to get your work done first. And I think that's a good example of a person that these guys should really be looking up to. And if they do and realize, let's take care of business first. Because if we take care of business first, we will have a lot of fun.
Couldn't agree more. And we touched on Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease, a couple other guys get mentioned, but the rest of the pitching staff as a whole, and I'm talking starters and bullpen. You got Michael Kopech. Okay, you got Lance Lynn. We'll see what happens with Clev. Obviously, in the bullpen, Reynaldo Lopez. Garrett Crochet is going to be back around May, according to Rick Hahn yesterday. Joe Kelly's still there. We're going to probably have to watch Jake Diekman a little bit, Jose Ruiz. What do you make of the entire pitching staff as they enter this need for a bounce-back season from a lot of people? Kendall Graveman as well, very good pitcher himself.
Yeah, this is a big year for everybody, man. I mean, you notice it. Everyone you've talked about, you know, can they have a good year, a bounce-back season? And I think the rotation, I should say the pitching staff itself, same thing. You know, you're gonna have to be better. You're gonna have to come in high leverage situations. Joe Kelly, you know, was very, very erratic last year. Not what we expected from Joe Kelly. All right. So there's, you know, Ray Lopez had a decent year. He's gonna have to build on that. You know, I think Ray was one of my favorite pitchers coming out of the pen. He had a lot of confidence, you know, and I think the fact of knowing he's not going 6 or 7, you know, he's able to empty it all out, you know, in the 2 innings, maybe 2+ that he'll go. So I think that was good for him. But yeah, they all got to step up. They all have to, you know, it's a shame when you hear certain people, and I'm not going to say that other team's name right now, just talk and say, hey, your window closed before it even opened. And as much as I want to punch them in the face, I can't lie. I really can't lie. I mean, I can't deny what they're saying because it is frustrating. We should be going deep in the playoffs. We should have been there, first of all, in the playoffs last year, but also deep in the playoffs last year. And we weren't because of a multitude of things. And now after this, listen, are we going to have to blow this up after this year if we don't make the playoffs? If we're bounced in the first round? I don't know. So this is, you know, this pitching staff, the pitching staff's got to do well. The bullpen's got to do well. All right. And if they do, and then the hitting, we got to get timely hitting. And if all that can come to play, man, it'll be a fun season. But all those things, we got to wait and see if they can.
Pedro Grifol going to be coming in, trying to replace Tony La Russa and what was going on with him last year. I do think some managerial issues were part of the problem last year. Again, not all Tony's fault. You know, it wasn't Tony's fault. Moncada was injured and couldn't hit, you know, whatever the old saying is. Giolito, bad year. Lynn hurt to start. None of that was Tony La Russa's fault, but there were a lot of things that were, and there were some in-game strategies that were just absolutely banana lands. Didn't agree with a lot of the bullpen management. What does Pedro Grifol need to do to kind of reel this team back in?
He's got to show everyone who's in charge. You know, I think the inmates ran the asylum the last 2 seasons. You know, I think Tony was more like a grandfather. You know, grandfathers tend to, you know, spoil their grandkids, and they don't really hold a lot of discipline like they would their own kids. You know, it's the perks of being a grandfather. And I think that the kids got this White Sox team got away with too much. right? They weren't held accountable. You weren't running to first base. You weren't hitting the cutoff man. You weren't, going deep in counts. There's a lot of bad baseball that was played. And I think that, Tony should have held them accountable more, saying, hey, listen, guess what? You played like shit the last couple of games. Why don't you have a seat next to me and think about it? I need, I told you, we wanted you to go deep in counts. We wanted you to work this pitcher. We wanted you to, go the opposite way. We needed it. We needed a ground ball to the right side of the field, and you didn't do it. All right. There's nothing like there's nothing like sitting on the bench or getting pulled in a game that'll make you reevaluate what you're doing and help an athlete get in line. So I think he's got to hold these guys responsible. He sounds good, like he's going to hold these guys accountable, I should say, and I hope he does. Because if he does, he'll have this team. And again, make sure they know what to expect. If you're going to be a hard ass, then be a hard ass, but be a hard ass from day one to the end of the season. And they know, because that's the one thing that athletes, they'll push you. They're like kids. They will test you. They'll push the limits. And if you stand your ground and you hold and you treat everyone fairly, you know what? Guess what? You'll get the best out of your team, and the best out of this White Sox team with all the talent that they have is pretty damn good.
I agree. And a lot of them reported early to spring training. You got the World Baseball Classic coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that as a good thing for some people, or is there some people going that you're like, I wish they weren't? Like, Moncada's been hurt, struggled starts a year sometimes. Well, he's going to be representing Cuba at the World Baseball Classic. Tim Anderson, after missing the second half of last year, Lance Lynn, all these guys who had injury troubles last year are playing in the World Baseball Classic. I kind of see it as a good thing. They'll show up to the White Sox fully locked and loaded, ready to go. Hopefully it doesn't linger any injuries or anything like that. But I think it's going to be a good thing. I'm curious on your thoughts on that.
Funny, great minds must think alike, Vinny, obviously, because I think it's good too, because you're going to be on 10. All right, you're going to be on 10, and you're jumping in, not to spring training. You're jumping into, my country against your country, and national pride is huge, right? Especially in the Hispanic community. Dominicans want to beat the Puerto Ricans, want to beat the Cubans, who want to beat the Venezuelans, who want to beat the Americans. So I'm excited for it. I really am, and I think the fact that these guys are playing, many of them are playing for their country. Ta, Yo-Yo, Lou Bob, I think it's great because they're going to get amped up. So when you come back here, you know what? There should be a level of performance that they don't deviate from, all right? Because you got to raise your level here when you're in the World Baseball Classic because of the national pride and the pressure, the national pressure that you'll have from your home country. And I think, I think you're coming in, on 10. I think you're coming in into spring training, kind of use it as a springboard to kind of get off to a fast start, because it's this White Sox. There's teams you got to beat in the Central, and we got to be Cleveland. We still got to get past Cleveland. Minnesota's not going anywhere. So Kansas City, who knows? They love to beat the hell out of us when they don't deserve, and they shouldn't. But so there's a lot. A good fast start is what we need to come off, and we start off with Houston. All right, the Houston Astros. I hate those dudes, but I think it'll give them a good shot to come off the World Baseball Classic and into the season, kind of raring to go on all cylinders are firing.
And you touched on that right at the perfect time, how I was going to end the White Sox portion of the interview. The rest of the AL Central, the Guardians, they came out of nowhere last year. They were the youngest team in Major League Baseball. They're one of two teams last year to have a top 5 farm system and also make the playoffs. They were in third place at the All-Star break. Everyone was like, wow, this stretch is going to be a sick battle between the Twins and the White Sox. They put a picture of Buxton with Tim Anderson at the All-Star game in their little popcorn machine because it was movie-themed or whatever. The Guardians came out of nowhere. Where do you stand on the White Sox with the rest of the division as they enter this season? Probably in a 3-team race, a lot of people would assume.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not that Cleveland was better than anybody. They gave effort. They gave effort. All right. They gave effort. They took it. They battled. How many stars can you name on their team? Can most people name on their team? Just a couple. The third baseman,
Jose Ramirez.
I was thinking, man, but Jose Ramirez, like that's that. You got a couple other guys, but they play the right way. They play hard. They move runners over. Right. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. All right, you don't have to have the best team to win, as evidenced by Cleveland. White Sox, I think, have the best team in the division. All right, but the old saying, when hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that's what the White Sox are. The talent is not working hard. They're not focused. It comes down to, are they ready? And I think that's why the World Baseball Classic is going to be really, really valuable to this White Sox team. I don't like that they're not going to be there, but I like the fact that since they're not there, they're going to be in some very intense baseball battles to start the season. And hopefully that just carries over. So if they do, okay, come in on 10. Imagine Lubob starting off the season on 10. Imagine Yo-Yo starting on 10. Imagine Eloy starting on 10. Imagine Tim. All right. These are guys you're like, whoa. Okay. Imagine all these guys firing at once. Or hell, imagine 2 of the 4 that I just mentioned firing on all cylinders. And then when they cool down, the other 2 take over. You know what I mean? And not to mention everybody else. We haven't mentioned, we didn't talk much about Andrew Vaughn, stuff like that. So we didn't mention Yaz, all these guys, because Yaz he's another one who needs a bounce back season. Because Lord have mercy, he was on the back of a milk carton last year. Actually, no, he was on the field not doing anything. That's why we were so pissed with him. It would have been better on the back of a milk carton, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think it's going to be good, man. I think I'm looking forward to seeing how the teams do in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, U.S., and then when they come back, what's their attitude? How is their moxie? How's their mindset going into the season?
Absolutely. The Cubs, we hate talking about them, me and you, but we're going to do it. What were your thoughts on their offseason?
Dude, I hate what they did, dude. They're building that culture into a championship culture. All right. They have a lot of young guys over there, and you brought in 3 World Series champions, a couple Gold Glove winners. Talking about guys who've been with organizations who've been there and know how to go about their business on a daily basis. And you got a whole bunch of young, talented guys over there. They're still working with Happ and Horner and things like that. You get those guys in, and you put those 3, not just 1, not just 2, but 3 guys in there who've been to the mountaintop, who've hoisted the trophy. Man, they're going to be managers extended from Grandpa Rossi, I think Grandpa Rossi is a really good manager. I think he's a really, really, really good manager, and to have those guys come from those organizations, with that World Series trophy in their back pocket, talking to these younger guys, showing them, how to go about your business as a professional. Man, I think I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they ended up having a better record than the White Sox if the White Sox don't get their act together, because you've seen how they fought for Rossi every game. Very, very rarely were they blown out. All right, they lost 5-4, 5-3, 2-1, 3-2. Okay, they're fighting, they're in there, and they just didn't have the talent. Now you're bringing in talent, and if they can keep that same mentality, man, this Cub team, they did a really, really good job of bringing in people who exemplify the culture that they want, because these guys have been part of that culture elsewhere. And now, yeah, it's a very, very good, going to be a really, really good clubhouse for these youngsters, young Cub players. And I know Cub fans are going to be pretty happy with it.
I think it's so funny. That's twice in a row that you took my next bullet point and said it. My next question was, will they have a better record than the White Sox? And so it sounds like you're leaning that it's a possibility.
Oh, it's a strong possibility, man. Strong possibility. If our White Sox don't get their act together, I mean, look, as a former coach, one of my colleagues, JJ Wright, said this to me, one of his coaches, so I don't want to take the credit for it. One of his coaches told him, if you take care of all the little things, there are no big things. And you think about it, yeah, hitting the cutoff man, such a simple thing. Most people are not Bo Jackson, can throw flat-footed from the warning track, on a dime to home plate. All right, hit the cutoff man, do your job. Button the ball or getting the ball to the right side. You're a professional hitter. Get your ass, make sure you got a proper stance, proper swing, proper hand placement, get the ball to the right side. All these little things that add up to everything. All right, Cleveland did it. The Cubs did it a lot. They just didn't have the talent. Okay, if the White Sox, dude, can you imagine the White Sox running the first base except Eloy, like Jose Ramirez? Okay, you imagine them hitting the cutoff man, Gavin Sheets hitting the cutoff man every time. All right, all these things that are just fundamental baseball that you learn in Little League that they're not doing because they think we're millionaires and we don't have to do it. No, there's a way the game's been played, and you see the teams that win the majority of the time, except for Houston when they cheated. All right, they play the game the right way. All right, they don't swing at the first pitch all the time. They'll go deep in counts. They'll hit the cutoff man. They'll take the extra base. These small little things that many people overlook end up being the difference between winning and losing. And when you add 4 to 6 to 8 of them, not even that many, 4 games. That's a 4-game swing. If you lose 4 games, okay, as opposed to winning, that's a 4-game swing. So if you lost the division by 3 games, guess what? You would have won it by a game because you didn't do the little things. And that's what Pedro Grifol has to do. And the Cubs are doing it. The Cubs started it last year. They just didn't have the talent. They started it last year. Now they got to have more talent. Yeah, the White Sox better get their act together. They need to get their act together ASAP.
Where do you have the Cubs in the NL Central and the NL wildcard? I know a lot of people kind of see the 6 teams that make the playoffs in the NL. Obviously, the Dodgers and the Padres, they're both coming out of the West in a lot of people's opinion. And then there's 3 teams in the NL East that believe that, they'll have a chance at the postseason. Obviously, the Mets spend the most money. They have the best roster probably. The Braves are kind of like the Guardians. They just have the best pedigree of any team in the National League, and they work their balls off on top of the fact that they have all this talent. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies are the reigning National League champions. That kind of leaves the NL Central. Is it going to be the Cardinals who are that 6th team again? Or can the Cubs sneak in there and win the division? Can they dethrone any of those other wild card teams that I just named? Like, where are you at on the Cubs and their potential to make the playoffs? I know it's very, very, very early, and we haven't even seen
prediction.
Yeah.
Way too early prediction. The one thing that I think that because Rossi is come from great organizations, all right, playing with the Red Sox in particular, I don't think he's so caught up in catching the Cardinals, all right, or beating the Cardinals. I think he's caught up in being the best in the division. So whoever they face, all right, that's who you face. It's not the big rivalry anymore. Cubs Cards, all right. I think he wants to leave that for the fans, all right, and that's cool, and that's where it belongs, all right, with us. So we can talk ish about it, and I think he's more worried about the day-to-day activity. I think how they approach the day, every single day. Can you get there 162 times? More often than not, can you have a good day? Can you give me the best of your ability every day? And not so much as, it's the Cardinals this time. It's a rivalry. It's this, it's that. No, it's another baseball game that you got to win. And when you don't put that added pressure on yourself, okay, it's different. When you're trying to win the National League Central, to win the National League pennant, you're not worried about the Cardinals. You're worried about who you're playing that day, not even tomorrow or the whole – you're worried about that day. And I think Rossi's got those guys focused on who are we playing today. And I think the Cubs have a good shot as any of taking the NL Central. And if they do, obviously they'll be in the postseason. But I don't think they'll be lower than 2nd in the NL Central. But if these new guys that they brought in really set an example, these young guys take off, I think they have a really strong chance, really, really strong chance of taking the NL Central. And God, I don't want to hear my Cub fan friends if they do.
Yeah, that's very fair, and I appreciate the honesty coming from a diehard White Sox fan there. One last baseball question, then I got 2-3 football questions for you.
Sure.
PZ in the chat wants to know, what do you think of the ghost runner at second base being permanent in extra innings?
Hate it. Hated it. Dude, I can't stand it. All right? It's I don't know why. If you're staying for extra innings, you might as well stay for another 15, 20 minutes, half hour, okay? It's frustrating. I hate it. I don't like it. So, only reason I do like about it because at that point you can't drink any more beer. So that's the only bad part. But no, I don't like it at all. So
That's true. If you get to the 10th inning, that means you've been cut off for at least 3 innings at that point.
Yeah.
Do you at least understand? Like, I know it sucks, and we all want more baseball. And stop trying to take more baseball away from me by adding this extra ghost runner. But I did hear some GMs make comments about it's nice not having to rework your entire bullpen through the minor league system the day after a 16-inning game. I do respect that. And listen, it sucks. It is what it is. But there is a level of I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
I do too, but it's all part of what they're doing. It's a domino effect because now you don't let pitchers go, 7+. All right, think about our, and I'm gonna go back to it and be a meathead White Sox fan, and I don't give a shit. But think about the American League Championship Series, where we use 4 pitchers. We use 2, one pitcher, 1 relief pitcher in all 5 games for 2 outs. That's it. In game 1, when Contreras went 8 1/3. All right, that was it. You don't let these guys go. So if you let these guys go a little further, then you wouldn't burn all these relievers. You got these specialists now. Vinny, it bugs me to no end that we are, as far as medically, and scientifically, we are the most advanced that we've ever been in baseball, in sports, period. And then you're still having so many issues with athletes when you had guys who weren't as muscular, when they built the wrong muscles. All right, they like Lucas. All right, but focus on your lower body. Don't strengthen, make your back strong, but you're not trying to be a power lifter or a bodybuilder with that strong of a back. You got to have some flexibility. You got to have some mobility in it. I think they're doing it the wrong way, but it just bugs me because they don't let pitchers go. And if they, like I said, if they did, you wouldn't be in crunch time and be running out of pitchers because you're bringing a guy for an inning, bringing a guy for another inning because your starter went 5 and change, and now you got to come from someone for the 6th, and then someone for the 7th, and then someone for the 8th, and then someone for the 9th. Like, well, there's 4 guys right there. It's like, let him go 7+, and now you're dealing with 2 pitchers, maybe 3 pitchers a game as opposed to 6.
It's very fair argument against it. I'm with you. It's here to stay. So I'm going to try and find my best way to start liking it. I'm going to start telling myself that, hey, you have to like this now because it's not going anywhere. It's like when you're having something nasty for dinner and you're like, you got to figure out a way. You got to tell myself this is delicious. So really quick, before we go, I got to ask you a couple questions about the beloved. I know the football world just came to its close for the 2022 season. The Kansas City Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions. It was an outstanding game that, it came down to the final play of the game with the game-winning field goal. And then as soon as this Super Bowl is over, we go right back to talking about the blue and the orange. Of course, that's what this city does. They're the only team that makes us more crazy than our baseball teams. All of a sudden, people are talking about freaking trading Justin Fields. What are your thoughts on that?
On trade, not trade. They just got to drum up interest. That's all. They just got to drum up interest. They're trying to get a haul. It's all market. It's all strategic planning, right? Because if no one thinks that, if everyone realizes that the Bears aren't going to take a quarterback, so then you can say, okay, well, the Bears are taking Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, whatever. Okay, so now the first quarter, so quarterback needy teams will say, okay, well, we got Houston. Okay, they're going to take a quarterback. Indy, they're at 4. They're going to take a quarterback. Okay, now where can we go? Let's go to. We don't have to go up to number 1 because now we got to give a haul. We can go to number 5 or number 6. Okay, because only 2 quarterbacks will have been taken off the board at that particular point. But if you start talking trade Justin Fields, you start talking, well, he really wasn't our guy, and you get everyone talking, other teams are gonna be like, well, what if they actually do trade Justin Fields? What if they do? And I love the rationale behind it, which is a great rationale. Like, you restart the clock. So now you have this quarterback, whoever you draft, it was Bryce Young or whoever, CJ Stroud. You got him for 5 years as opposed to 4 as a second round pick. You got him for 5 years, and now you restart the clock. And you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, and the more and more people push it, the more and more you may have people say, "Man, they might do that. We might have to do something now." They're not trading Justin Fields, all right? You're not doing that. You're not. There's no way. I'll wear a Cubs hat on my show, all right, if they trade Justin Fields. All right, I will wear a freaking Cub hat. You know what? The hell with it. I'll wear a Cubs jersey and a Cubs hat on my freaking show if they trade Justin Fields. They're not trading Justin Fields. It's all posturing. You're trying to get the most possible. I'd love to be able. The Bears, I think, in a perfect world, would travel down to 7, 8, or 9. You got Carolina, you have Atlanta, and you have Vegas. Okay, unless Vegas is out of it because Garoppolo or someone else or Rodgers signs there, but we'll see. But 1 to 2 with Houston because they want to make sure they get their guy, whether it's Stroud or Levis or whoever it is that they want. Okay, 1 to 2 with them, and then 2 to 4 because now Indy is they want their guy because Houston didn't take who Indy wanted. So now, like, hey, listen, let's just do that. And then 4 to, again, 7, 8, or 9, whoever that, man, you come up with a couple of, that's a haul. That'd be ideal for the Bears. All right, but I think they might end up trading once or twice the most. I love the three trade back, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
I love that you said you'll wear Cub stuff on your show if they trade Justin Fields, but at the end of the day, it's still a Chicago team. Put your money where you're like, I'll wear a Packers jersey or a Packers hat if they trade Justin Fields.
No. I lost that bet one time years ago, and I'll never do it again.
Yeah, you're not that confident. You're like, I haven't spoken to
I am
Ryan
that
Poles
confident,
personally.
but I'm still not doing no.
That's funny. That's funny. I respect it. And I'm not putting that nasty stuff on me. Hell no. Absolutely freaking not. So you do assume they're going to trade the first overall pick? I know you got Indy at 4. You got, Carolina, Atlanta, Vegas, all these teams in
Vegas
the top
7,
10.
Atlanta 8, and Carolina 9.
Yeah. All these teams that could use a quarterback pretty badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're not. And here's another thing that you screw up. Here's another thing that you do. See the reason that this. If you look at, I was reading this today and I forgot who the author was, the writer, and I don't want to give him credit. You're damn right. FGB. All right. FGB. All right. They can go back to kissing their cousins and tipping cows for all I give a damn. They're talking about you want. When you learn a system, they're talking about how difficult this system is. And they gave a plethora of examples of the difficulty that quarterbacks have in their first season running the offense that the Bears are running. Okay. For hell, look at Russell Wilson. All right. He ran the same thing and he had receivers. Okay. He didn't forget how to play football. This is just a difficult system. All right. And why would you do that to a young kid when you have Justin Fields, you have EQ St. Brown, you got Chase Claypool, you got the running backs, you got the offensive line. Everyone knows the system. Even Chase. Chase came in week 7, 8, 9, whatever. You got a whole half a season. He doesn't have to learn the offense anymore. No one has to learn the offense anymore. The only one has to learn the offense is whoever's brought over here. And it's a lot easier for one guy or two guys or four guys to learn the offense. Okay, and you give them time sporadically as opposed to the whole offense having to learn the offense. All right, so it's going to be. Look at what look what Jalen Hurts did in his second year. And I may have mentioned this to you, but I've said it a couple times. Earlier this year, they did a piece. I think Philly was 7-0 at the time, 8-0, whatever. And they did a piece. Fox did a piece before the Bears game, and they were highlighting Jalen Hurts. And he said, they had a nice little dramatic slow walk into the Eagles facility, and he's talking, and he says, the very first thing he said, you know what? This is the first time I've had the same play caller in consecutive years since my dad coached me in high school. Okay. Yes, granted, they got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but when you're in the same system and you don't have to learn the offense, you can refine it and practice it. It's a whole different story. And I think that's what's going to happen with Justin Fields. And people talk about his accuracy. Yeah, he missed some, but so did everybody else. But let's not forget how many drop passes we had that would have extended drives. Let's not forget about how many fumbles we had. Amir Marset, the guy who was with Minnesota against Minnesota with the fumble, the Dave Montgomery fumble, the EQ St. Brown fourth down drop, the Darnell Mooney double clutch at the goal line against was it the Houston? No, it wasn't Houston.
Was it the Vikings?
It might have been, but he caught it. He caught it, but he double clutched it. So if he would have caught it clean, he was over the goal line. But they hit him as he caught it. He bobbled it when he gained control of it. They didn't. He was on the other side of the wrong side of the goal line. So that's 4 games right there. And I'm not saying that they would have won the Minnesota Viking game. No. All right, but it gives us a shot. All right, those are 4 different games. So you talk about everyone is talking about he's got to be a better passer. He's got to do this. Trust me. No one had any questions about him being able to pass at Ohio State. Nobody. Okay, he just had studs around him. So you know what? Get studs around him. All right. I think Chase is going to have a great year. I think Darnell Mooney's going to have a great year. I think Cole Kmet's going to build on what he did last year, having a great year with 7 tutties for him. I thought that was phenomenal. Dude, Justin is going to do really, really, really well. If he doesn't do it this year, I say in 2024 he'll break the single season record held by Eric Kramer.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a chance that big things are coming for the Bears. They have a big offseason ahead of them. They have this number 1 pick, obviously Justin Fields. Needs some weapons, but they have the most cap space of anybody in the entire National Football League, and it is somewhat by a wide margin. Is there any other, to close it out, offseason thoughts or hopes that you have for this team as we get into the lukewarm part, hopefully looking out the window, not so promising type of season that we're about to hit?
I just want to see them. I want to see Ryan Poles do what he did last year. All right. and that is accumulate more picks. Because let's not forget, here's the thing that most people don't forget or don't remember, right? 2 years ago, the NCAA gave all college athletes an extra year of eligibility due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so whoever, didn't matter what, if you're a fifth year senior, you got a sixth year. All right, and you can use that or whatever, Last year was the first year that guys took advantage of it, and they came out and was in 23 as opposed to in 22, which is why you're able to find a Jack Sanborn as an undrafted free agent when he should have gone in the 5th or 6th round. Okay, because there was just an influx of talent. Well, this year you're going to get the second group of it. It was not going to be as big as the group was last year as far as talent-wise, but there's still going to be a lot more talent in this draft than there usually are. So you're going to be able to find some guys. So if he can, continue to accumulate draft picks, don't be surprised if you see a 4th-round pick, a third or 4th or 5th or 6th-round pick who's a contributor, all right, or maybe even fights for a starting job or is in a rotation at whatever position we're talking about. Maybe he gets an edge rusher in the 5th round, which people, like, holy cow, where did he get this guy? The 5th rounder out of such and such. Well, it could have been a 3rd rounder, if there wasn't as much talent. So be on the lookout for that, all right? And then also the free agent market, because truth be told, and we understand, it's built, the games are won and lost in the trenches. All right, Patrick Mahomes did phenomenal things the other day. All right, what did he do 2 years ago? Not very much in the big game because he was being chased because his tackles were gone. He had backup tackles. Poles and Ian Cunningham, both former offensive linemen, understand this. So if they went out and said, hey, listen, we like Braxton Jones. He did a great job for us. He started all the games last year. He needs to work on his bull rush. He's going to get stronger. We're still signing a left tackle. Fight for your job. We like Larry Borum. We really want to see what Leatherwood can do. All right, because now he's not going to have mononucleosis, so he's going to be able to be at his actual playing weight. He's going to be at his actual strength. He's going to be at his actual quickness. He's going to be at his actual explosiveness. I love that, and we're still going to get a right tackle. So now you know what? Compete for that shit, because when you get guys, you have that type of competition, and you say this is what it's going to be like game one. Unless you guys change our minds, let's get at it, because when you know you're going into the season that your offensive line is set, Justin's not going to have to worry about it. These other guys behind him are going to be chomping at the bit every single God-blessed practice, which is going to push these guys because they don't want to be the guy who signed a big contract, a 2 or 3 year deal, 4 year deal with the Bears, and then they lose it because of a guy who outplayed him. Go get that offensive line set. Give me 2 tackles, sign them, or 2 guards and sign them. Well, 1, because I ain't moving Tevin Jenkins. That dude's a monster, and his attitude needs to be pervasive throughout that whole offensive line. But I digress. Go give me 2 tackles or give me a left guard, left tackle, and say this is my starting left side. All right, and anyone who wants to play, if you want to play left tackle, you want to play left guard, you beat them out. That's what I want to see.
That is outstanding. You broke that down in such a way that I don't know if I've had on this baseball show. I mean, we talk football. I have a hockey show on Wednesday and a baseball show on Thursday, and we just moderately talk about football throughout both of them. That was an outstanding breakdown of the Chicago Bears trenches. I don't know if you ever watched the Pat McAfee show. Once a week they have on what's his name? He was with the Patriots when they were winning Super Bowls. He was an offensive lineman, A.Q. Shipley. And he goes on and, he breaks down things in terms of offensive and defensive lines, and I nerd out over it. I got similar vibes from what you just did talking about that. So that was outstanding stuff. Shawn, promote yourself, promote your business, your channel, all of it.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All right. At the Shawn Sierra, you see it at the bottom of the screen. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Time. I have my show, Shawn and Maya, in the morning. It's on my network. It's called Sports Zone Chicago. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. We also have a mobile app. You can download Sports Zone Chicago from the App Store, wherever you get your apps from. We also have a Roku channel. So if you have a Roku television in the house, a Roku device, you can download and watch Sports Zone Chicago. Download the tile. Okay, you know how to download the tiles. You've downloaded Stars for Power Book 2 Season 3. Yellowstone. You dialed, Paramount Plus for Yellowstone. So download Sports Zone Chicago's tile. You can watch us live. You can watch us on demand. You can catch us that way anyway as well. So follow us, download it. We'd appreciate it. and we look to have some more great sports conversation.
Absolutely. And everybody watching can also tune into the Barroom Network all weekend long, where you could learn about all the things going on with baseball. South Burbs Hitman is a couple weeks away from making its full-time review, doing all things Chicago White Sox. We will be back next Wednesday talking bar down, talking hockey. Of course, lots of big things going on with the NHL trade deadline coming up. Are the Blackhawks going to trade Patrick Kane? I don't know. You got to come find out next Wednesday with me and Frank Mueller. And we will be right back here next Thursday, where we will have everybody at spring training at that point in time. So I'm looking forward to having everybody join. Shawn, we can't thank you enough for coming on our show. It has been my absolute pleasure.
Oh, likewise, man. Anytime, I'm a phone call away, bro, or text away. I'm right here.
Absolutely. We will have you on periodically throughout the season, and I am outstandingly looking forward to it. And I can't thank everybody in the chat. Foster, Joe, who else was there today? PZ. We have lots of people in the chat today. We love you all very, very much. And as always, thank you for listening.
Another happy landing.